All right, so this is a little bit of a different video, okay? I'm going to be giving some hitting tips for you guys. A lot of people have played this game for a very long time. I've only played the last couple years, and even in my first year of playing the game, I got to World Series, I was flawless, and you know, a lot of these little things that I figured out along the way really helped me excel in the game, even though I didn't have like the years of experience. But there's definitely certain things you can do to get better at the game. If you're not doing them, you need to be doing them, some of them. So yeah, let me go with my first point, which is to not worry about your record at all. When I first started the game, this is going to be a lot from my experience. So when I first started playing the game, the record meant like everything to me. Like I was like, oh, I don't want to go up to higher difficulties. I'll just play on the lower difficulties. Once I start getting like facing better players that were more my skill level, I'm just going to stop. But anyway, don't worry about your record at all. Don't worry specifically for ranked. Your record does not matter. It does not do anything. It just sits there and looks at you. And you might hate that, but seriously, it doesn't mean anything. You will get so much better when you stop worrying about what your record looks like, how many wins you have, how many losses you have. Don't worry about that at all. That is my first tip. My second tip is there are certain parameters that you need when building a squad. There are definitely certain parameters. With All-Star and below, you have a wider range of cards to use. This is just an example. You definitely want to use players that have, you want to focus on power. You definitely want power hitters. Focus on that more than the contact. The contact still needs to be decent. So what I go for is around 90 and up contact, and then power has to be over 100, you know? There are exceptions for sure. Some people play above their stats or whatever. I would say that the positions where it doesn't matter as much is you want a good fielding shortstop with speed, and you want a good fielding center fielder with speed. But you do need those in your lineup. Don't skip out on those. Those are a big deal. But you can, All-Star and below, you can focus more on power. Then when you go up to Hall of Fame plus, you're a little bit more restricted. I would recommend going 100 plus on all stat categories and really worrying about clutch, because a player might have great stats but bad clutch, and that ruins the card. Like, you need to score in some of those situations. I would definitely use higher clutch players and 100 plus on all the hitting stat categories. 100 plus every stat category on Hall of Fame plus. The rest of these tips will be more for all difficulties. So making your lineup, definitely want to take those into consideration when you're hitting. And then the last thing I'll say when making your lineup and choosing your lineup is swings matter way more than you think. You might think a card, oh, this card has insane stats, but I hate his swing, but I'm going to use him anyway because he's got the stats. Don't worry about that. If you don't like the swing, don't use the card. There you go. Next is settings. So settings is a very important thing. And I'm just gonna, some of these settings, you might be like, obviously everybody uses that, but I'm gonna just assume that people don't know that. So definitely want to be swing input buttons. You want to only use normal swing. Everybody should know that, but if you don't, only use normal swing. Do not use contact or power swing. Honestly, on any difficulty, do not use those. It changes your timing. It's not as good. Normal swing is the only swing to use. It is the only thing to use. Hitting interface has to be zone. It has to be zone. Don't use the other ones. Only zone. This is more personal preference, but my tip that I'm going to show you with how I use the PCI and control it is to use PCI anchor. Put it on preset. That's what I use. I put the dots on. Then with the PCI, I would recommend what I use is basic inner yellow 80%, nothing else. That just gives you you know, the inner PCI and nothing in the center, which is nice because you can put the ball in the center. You want the ball to be the center. So if you can track that and use your eyes for that. But I will say, if you are struggling to know where your PCI is at, if you see a pitch and you say to yourself, I really thought I put my PCI on it, but I didn't. If you're hitting above or below the ball, put the center on. I recommend diamonds or altitude. I don't really like the bat. Well, circles is all right, but probably diamonds. Diamonds is my favorite. It kind of gives you that like almost mouse pointer like feel to the top. It's got like a point on it. So I like that one, but I like to use this so that I can see the ball better. And that's another thing. If you use a center PCI and you feel like you're losing the ball when you're trying to track it and missing it, you don't use a center, use basic inner, and then you can see the ball better and try to catch it with the sides, not in the center, because it can block you a lot. It can block your vision a lot. Play with vibration off. That's another tip that I have. Play with vibration off. I only recommend playing on strike zone high or strike zone. Enough for settings. I think that covers the settings pretty good. The next thing is, if you don't know how to access custom practice, it's very beneficial. The main menu screen, don't click any of these, go down and learn to play, go to custom practice, hit with whatever player you want. I like the Rockies. Hit with whatever player you want. I would go up against, a good one for me is Luis Castillo. He throws a hard slider, hard sinker, and those are some of the toughest pitches in the game for me to hit. I would just pick any pitcher. They're just the major league pitchers. None of them are like crazy or anything. And then go to practice type, switch it to batting. I hit with McMahon against Castillo. Make sure you go to options and put it on whatever difficulty you like playing on. If you're on All-Star, put it on All-Star. Now, the first thing I want to recommend for this is before you get the pitch, right, you see this zone. This is why basic is nice, because it's almost the whole zone, especially if you have like better contact guys. I highly recommend just getting, like, sitting in here, maybe looking at it and just getting a really good feel for the zone so that you can take pitches like that. You know, there will be pitches that are close. You don't want to swing at that. You will not do anything with that. You won't do anything with that. Just get a very good, you know, idea of where the zone is. That way you can take pitches and recognize pitches better. I'm going to tell you what I do. I anchor my PCI in the middle top, and then I put it where the glove is, like where the glove is centered. And you want to watch his glove until the ball comes out. Your goal is to pick up the ball as early as possible so you have the most time to react. I would highly recommend, especially on the higher difficulties, pick up the ball as soon as you can. Now, in terms of timing, what you want to do, timing is more important than where your PCI is. The timing is the most important thing. So what I do to time everything up, I put my PCI in the center of the zone, or the top center of the zone. I focus on the pitcher, and when his leg comes up, I kind of gradually pick my PCI up with his leg and his glove. You can see it right here. I kind of move it around, then when his leg comes up, I bring that up. And that's kind of just a timing mechanism for me to hit with, because you don't want your PCI to just sit there and then to like kind of flick to where you're going to go. You want to have a nice like feel of the zone and the speed that you're moving with the PCI. So, you know, come up with something along those lines. You can try what I do. Pick the leg up, go down, boom. So that will help you with your timing. It also helps with timing. That's why you also want to see more pitches, because, you know, all of these are going to be timing mechanisms, and you want to get the best feel for it. So I always hit better, you know, as the game progresses, because I get that timing down and then I'm all over it, you know? So that's the way I time it up. That's the way I look at the ball and get my PCI there. Works on all difficulties. You can do that on Legend. You can do that on All-Star or below. Pick his leg up, be smooth with it, and then hit the ball. It's honestly the thing that's helped me the most with getting solid PCI and timing. Okay, the last thing I want to say is you need to have, this is great for All-Star. It's even better for Legend. Any difficulty. The best thing that you can do is have a different approach early in the count as you do late in the count. So I have kind of 3 different approaches. So what I do, my first approach is the 0-0. When it's 0-0, I'm being very selective. Very selective. I don't want to swing at anything that if I'm not looking for it, I'm almost always looking for a fastball. Something fast, you know, and then I'll react to the slower pitches if I can. Sometimes I look silly. But what you want to do is look for fast, but early in the count, the start of the count, be very selective. Very selective. Even if it's in the strike zone, you don't want to hit that. Say it's 0-1, 0-2. Now you have to expand the strike zone. You have to swing at pitches maybe you don't want to swing at if it's close. If it's close. So but you have to have that approach in the back of your mind. You have to say, okay, now we're 2-strike approach. You can't just say, oh yeah, if I get 2 strikes, I'll just, you know, swing at anything close. Have that mindset and flip gears. You want to flip gears and say, okay, now 2-strike approach, anything close, and we're locked into that mode. I have a third approach. So early in the count, I'm very selective. 2 strikes, I expand it a little bit, and I'm swinging at anything close and just trying to make contact with the ball. Don't want to strike out. Then there's when you're way up in the count. When you're way up in the count and you're up like 3-0, 3-1, you want to really sit on anything fast, and you have some opportunity to just kind of free swing. I am super hunter mode when it's 3-0 or 3-1, sometimes even 2-0, because you're probably going to get something over the heart of the plate that's fast. So just look for that and try to kill those. Have those 3 different approaches. You want to have a selective approach, very selective, one where you're hunting, you're like, I'm going to be aggressive if he throws a fastball. Then one where with 2 strikes, you expand the zone, try to make contact, try to cover more of the zone with that PCI and get it there. So yeah, those 3 approaches will definitely help you. Just take those tips. You know, you don't have to do everything I said. I would try everything that I said. That all helped me. That was all stuff that helped me. I promise you, you will get better if you take into consideration all those tips. I promise.